So, Tony Robbins, the #1 performance coach in the world. How is it to go to a Tony Robbins event, and would I recommend it? This is what this video is about. So, this just last weekend, 3 days ago, I came back from Unleash the Power Within event with Tony Robbins. It was in Sydney, and it's a 4-day experience in an event. So before I tell you whether I recommend going or not, let me tell you why I went. So it's really interesting. I'm a personal development coach. I'm a feminine embodiment coach. I help single successful women attract committed masculine men. And so I've heard of Tony Robbins, of course. Who didn't? Like, if you didn't hear of Tony Robbins, you must be living under a rock. And I even knew people who went to his events. In fact, my husband, String, he went to Tony Robbins events, many of his events, like 20 years ago, literally. And I knew that String went there and his life has changed and transformed. Like he was vegan for 3 years after specifically Unleash Your Power Within, and then became a vegetarian and all of that. But for some reason, I had this aversion to people that are so known for something that they do, and especially in my line of work. So I was kind of like, I knew he was great, but I just didn't, I didn't even read any of his books, to be honest, which I find, I'm a bit ashamed to admit. So anyways, and obviously there was COVID and everything, and it was always on my bucket list, on my to-do list, because, Tony's not getting younger. I think he's like 62 or 63. And so it was always on my bucket list to go and experience it, right? Because people say, wow, it's an amazing experience. So I was like, I don't know. So I saw an ad on Instagram. I told my husband, and we initially booked 2 tickets for me and him. Unfortunately, he wasn't able to go because of reasons outside of our control, and so I went with a friend, by myself with a friend. So as I was going to the event, I actually didn't have any expectations, or maybe I actually had low expectations, because I kind of felt like I know it already. I've been in the personal development space since around 2012, so that makes it about 11 years. And I've been exposed to a lot of personal growth, right? I worked for about 3.5 years as a marketer, where I was launching all of these kinds of products, right? Like from, I heard it all, right? Like unblocking your money blocks, and chakra healing, and astral projection, and quantum jumping, and the Silva method. And I worked for a big personal development publishing company. So I was exposed to many, many different names. And in fact, I worked with some of them directly. And then, I continued my personal growth journey, and obviously I myself became a coach, and I was obsessive and digging deep into, human behavior, and specifically women, and limiting beliefs and all that. And I came up with my own IP now, intellectual property inside the Claim program. So I have a very specific process of how I help women shift from attracting, emotionally unavailable men, or men who are in their feminine, to really breaking through those patterns so they can attract what they want, which is emotionally available, meaning committed masculine men. So I was just in that kind of bubble. I know what I'm doing. I've heard it all. Like, what new things can Tony Robbins teach me that I don't know? So that's the mindset that I went in, which I kind of don't recommend, or maybe that's why I got so much out of it, out of the event. And obviously, I would recommend going. And in fact, after the event, I've signed up, String and I have signed up for all Tony Robbins' events. So maybe because I had low expectations, my mind was blown away. Like, seriously, I think this event has been one of the most transformative personal growth experiences that I had. And I want to tell you about it, right? I want to tell you about my key takeaways from the event, and I think you're going to find it interesting. And also, I think I will be speaking to you about this, and I'll be sharing with you my realizations and my key takeaways, but I'll also be telling you about what you can do with it, and how I now look at how things have changed and shifted for me when I work with my clients, when I talk to women on discovery calls, and how I, show up in my own life. So, Tony is all about, I'm going to start with this whole thing, the science of momentum. So, I have a whole notebook here, as you can see. It's called the Unleash Your Power Within notebook, Tony Robbins. And it's a workbook that takes you through I mean, it's huge, right? There's 4 days, there's a lot of information, all of that. The first thing that I found really interesting and different is that power of immersion, first of all, that he talks about a lot, that his whole style about helping people achieve and experience transformation through his events is immersion. And in fact, as I look at the notebook, how he says how change happens is one of the key pillars of lasting change is actually you got to immerse yourself into the learning environment that you are wanting to achieve or get. So for him, it's not just enough to, go to a class. I don't know. He could have designed a program where you go to class every week or whatever. It has to be total and full immersion. And so I've really experienced that immersion, obviously, during these 4 events. It's like super intense, 12-hour days. It's really intense, right? There's no breaks, almost no breaks. And so you're just sitting there and your mind is just like wired and you're absorbing all of this. So the power of immersion is super important. That's how change and real transformation happens. And I've witnessed it and I've seen it. And for me, a lot of the things that have changed me was when I went somewhere to an event and I was completely immersed for 5 days. So think about what can you do to have these immersive experiences when you're learning or when you're shifting and changing. This is why retreats or events are really powerful because of the power of immersion, because you're not distracted with whatever else is happening in your life. And so the other thing that was quite weird in the beginning and strange, but then once you understand it, it really makes a lot of sense. On the first day of the event, Tony talks a lot about being in this beautiful state, how he calls it, which means that if you want to live your life the way you want to live and the quality of your life to be at the top level, you need to absolutely manage your state, or start with your being in a beautiful state, how he calls it, but being in a state, in an uplifted state. Because the idea is that when we are depressed or sad or angry or whatever, we're in this state that is negative and that drags you down. And from that state, it's very, very hard to pick yourself back up and make good decisions, make decisions that are fast forward. It's hard to focus on your goal, and it's harder to actually do things because you're not connected to yourself and you're not connected to your why or your mission or your passion, which I'm going to talk about. So it was really interesting within this immersion how we got to a beautiful state, and I'm still kind of digesting how this was happening. But literally, I mean, imagine I was in a stadium full of there was 6,000 people, and so and obviously the speakers were super engaging. It's super high energy, it's like dancers and music, and every 15 minutes we would stand up, and Tony would ask us to make a move, right? Say yes, make a move, say yes. And then every 15 minutes you're dancing and jumping and everybody's screaming. And you sit there on the first day and being what the fuck is going on? This is weird. This is really weird. Why are they asking me to, get up and dance and jump all the time? It's make a move. Yes, yes. But then at the beginning of the event, they ask you, I mean, obviously they pre-frame it really well, because they say, some things that you're going to experience are going to be out of your comfort zone, and you're here at this event, you want your life to change, so be fully in, right? Whatever's being asked of you, just do it. What's the worst thing that can happen? A lot of people sit there and kind of react oh, whatever, what she can teach me, or what is this guy saying? Yeah, right. So instead of that, change the pattern, interrupt the pattern, and say, oh, maybe I can learn something new here, right? So being a student, so if you are at an event or if you join a program, you got to drop all your skepticism, right? And really look at this experience with fresh new eyes of a newbie. And even me and I think this is why, so I just allowed myself to be fully in it, to be guided. I trusted the process. And this is what I see also with my clients sometimes, that they're skeptical. They might not trust the process, right? You might be doubting or questioning, which is normal. But if you signed up for something, give it a full shot. Give it a full chance, so to say, for it to work on you and for it to transform you. So that's what I done, right? Whenever they asked me to stand up and yell yes and jump and whatever, I jumped. And Tony also explained the science of it, which is, conditioning. He uses a lot of NLP and the conditioning stuff, conditioning your mind and your brain to understand that you can get in these peak states and how our life changes. How do we make decisions? How are we successful? How do we move forward, right? We move forward and really create change and amazing results in our lives, in all areas of our lives, when we're in this peak state. A peak state, you can also call it like confidence, right? It's a very positive, uplifting state. If you think about, Tony talks a lot about the posture, right? Like notice where your shoulders are. Notice the tone of your voice. Are you speaking fast? Where's your energy? So if you want to live your life the way you want to live, I mean, all of us want to have incredible lives and live at our peak, live extraordinary lives. We got to be able to get into peak states really fast. And this is what this event, pretty much this was the foundation, right? And he has this, I wonder if I can show you the 3 things where everything starts, right? He calls it the 3 elements of practical psychology. And there is this circle, which I'm going to show you right now. It's a circle of the 3 things that when they converge, this is where the science of achievement. So it's the 5 to thrive, or the core of emotional fitness. So if you can see this photo here, right, it's all about the state that I've been telling you about. So how do we create change? How do we achieve positive results? And how our life changes is everything starts with your state. And how do you get to this peak state, or let's say a beautiful state? Well, it all starts with your physiology, which is the foundation of all effective change, which is really interesting. That's why we were doing this, jumping, celebrating, yelling. We were conditioning being in that state. And what it taught us, I mean, hopefully all of us at the event, is that you can get into that peak state really quickly. You don't need to sit there for hours and tell yourself, I gotta feel good. And it's not positive thinking. It's literally, like get from your chair and jump and say yes and move your hands up. Say yes, right? So, and obviously you gotta practice, but it's like a muscle. It's also, I think what he's using is anchoring in NLP. So like when I do this now, my body reacts because my body is uplifted and I remember how that feels. So the first thing is the physiology that needs to change within you. The fastest way to change your state is to first change your physiology. So you need to do something drastically different that you would condition and repeat that would remind you. So I think what he was doing was actually this anchoring. So as soon as we would do the, like the move, like he was saying, make a move. And we're like, yes, or whatever. You make your move and then you make it so many times. I think we did it for like hundreds of times during the event. You get used to it. So every time you make a move, it brings you into that positive state, the celebration. Like it's been only 3 days, right? But I'm hoping it's going to stay with me as I do my morning practices like priming and my own morning practices. So the first thing to be in this state, to get into this state, to make positive change and decisions and all of that, is the physiology. The second thing is the focus. Focus equals feelings. A lot of you have heard this phrase where focus goes, energy flows, right? If you focus on things that are negative in your life or what's not working, if you're dating men and they're ghosting and what they're not doing right, like the whole culture today, the whole story in women's heads, it's all about how men are not doing the work, how men are ghosting, how men are not emotionally available, what happened to men, da. So, when you have a hammer, everything looks like a nail. And so if you want to change your dynamics with men, I always tell all of my women, focus on the evidence or where men great already exists. Because, I could be in the room, and I gave this example to my clients today. I could be in a room of 6,000 people, which I was for 4 days, right? Half of them were men. And I could look at this room and I could say, oh my God, like, look how many people are just, look at how many men are here who are just so weak, right? Who are like needing help in terms of, figuring out their life, who don't have their shit together. Of course they can't be trusted. How can I trust men who are here like crying? Yeah. Now in my mind, what was happening is I was looking at all these men and I was like, oh my God, men are amazing. And I actually shot a story and I said, in my story, I said, this is for all of the women who are saying the men are not doing the work. And I saw how amazing men are, like imagine how hard it is for a guy to step out of his comfort zone to go to an event like this and to like jump and scream. By the end of the event, I saw these amazing men, right? Like dancing and giving hugs and giving high fives and being brave enough to actually cry and express their emotions. So focus, right? Whatever you focuses on expands. Where focus goes, energy flows. So in your life, think about, what are you actually focusing on? What are you surrounded with in terms of information, people, right? And so you got to change that if you want a different result. And obviously you got to change your physiology too. And that's why Tony talks a lot about the body and emotions and how the quality of your life is literally dependent on meaning and emotions. So what is your belief system, and what is the meaning that you create around the world or dating or any area of your life, and what emotions you bring to that. So overall, I was so happy to be at this event and to see what Tony does in his work. Obviously, he's affected, I think, 40 million people at this point, and work with celebrities and peak performers in the world, help them change and transform. And so I was so happy to understand a little bit of his methodology, that he uses pretty much the tools that I use with my women. I mean, he even talks about feminine, masculine polarity a lot, right? And my program is based on, all of my work is based on 3 pillars: feminine, masculine polarity in relationships, reframing limiting beliefs, and also embodiment. And all of these 3 pillars, Tony's work is based on as well. So physiology is the foundation of all change, right? So that's why it's really important to bring the body into the picture. Know that your body holds a lot of tension. Your body remembers, and you can work with the body. I mean, obviously his method is a little bit different, but your physiology can change. And the first thing that you need to do in order to be in the positive mindset, be in a peak state so you can achieve peak results, is first physiology, and it can change really fast. Then the second thing, of course, is focus. The third thing is language, meaning, right? Emotion equals life. So what is the language that you use when it comes to, and I'm going to talk about men, dating, and relationships. What is the language that you use when you speak about men, when you speak about relationships, right? And I give this really quick exercise I gave this to so many women, right? Just divide your sheet in 3 columns and write men, women, relationships, and give yourself 1 minute to just write the meanings of these words, right? Just write down everything you can think of when you think of men, right? And then write down everything you can think of when it comes to women. Women are, fill in the blank for 1 minute. And then relationships or love is, or relationships are, right? And then you'll be able to see what is the language that you're using. Because language creates a story. And the more we repeat that story in our mind, the more it solidifies. And obviously I could immediately, when I'm coaching clients, I can notice what language they're using. And by the language they're using, I know what's the story in their head and what's their belief system. And then the fifth, so this is, I mean, obviously this is 5 to Thrive, the core of emotional fitness, and how emotionally you are ready to create change, or you take charge of your life. And then the the fourth one is creating a compelling future, a reason to use your skill. So you got to know where you want to go, right? You got to know where you want to go, and you got to see that story. You got to see it being real in your head. I mean, obviously, this is the power of imagination. All, peak performance athletes, they see themselves winning. They see themselves achieving, and they see themselves celebrating. So what is that future? What exactly do you want? And why do you want that? For me, the why in this event, this was one of the biggest things that have shifted things forward for me. As I was, during the last 3 to 4 years, as we started our business, claimed, in that whole time I had 2 children. And so for me, somewhere along the way, I was disconnected from my mission or my purpose of why am I doing what I'm doing. It was still there. I mean, obviously, because I was still doing it. But I didn't feel that drive. I didn't feel that deep, I wasn't connected to that deep mission of why I'm here. And when I saw, first of all, when, there's so much energy in the room, and I saw Tony walk up the stage, I mean, the legend of a guy, I was really emotional. I actually started crying when I saw him. I've always had this, because I come from the poorest country in Europe, a tiny, small country. It always happens to me, like when I when I see places or people that I saw on TV. I remember the first time I went to saw the White House, or New York, and then, the Sydney Opera House. I went to Thailand. So I've been all over the world. And when I see people in real life that are like actors or Tony Robbins, I feel like, wow, I'm in a movie. So I got really emotional. But then, and he was walking by and things like that. He also said something super cool, which I knew all along: proximity is power. Being close to people that you admire, that uplift you, that inspire you is so, so important, because you are the sum of the 5 people around you. And if you're the smartest person in the room, then you're in the wrong room. So that's why I'm constantly even now investing in myself and up-leveling, being with people where I want to be. So when I saw Tony, and this event was not only amazing for me in terms of my personal development and personal growth, but it was also great for me because for my professional work as a coach. Because here I am looking at this man, right? And Tony Robbins has been doing his seminars and been doing this work for 46 years. And as I dive more into this work, I know that at every event, and oh my God, like maybe 70% of his time he spends on the road doing these events and stuff like that. And he keeps repeating the same stories over and over again. He keeps doing this work with people, and he's so energetic, right? And he's so grounded and so obsessed with his mission. He knows his why so well, and obviously that's why he's teaching other people that. But I saw a man who is, there were tears in his eyes. He was so fully present there. I saw a man who deeply cared to lead 6,000 people at an event and deeply care about them. And I got connected to this man on such a deep level, right? And it's very hard now that I'm talking about it. It's very hard to describe it, because when I was there, I was really feeling it. And through the different exercises that we did, one of his main things is, people don't do what they want to do because they don't know what they want, actually. And then the most important thing, they don't know why they want to do it. And then keep asking the question of why, right? And for me, the work that I'm doing, which I kind of forgot or I got off track or whatever, is because I want to help women. And I want to help women get out of their head and out of their story. Exactly the same thing that Tony is doing with everyone, right? Especially when it comes to reframing beliefs. Out of their programming, out of their head, out of their story, so they can create a new reality in their dating and with men. Because you can find the 2 same exact people with similar qualities living in the same location, right? Or whatever. Like, you can find one woman in New York who complains about dating, there's no good men around or whatever, right? And then there's another woman who is at the similar level education-wise, maybe they even look similar, right? And this woman is managing to have, somehow, they live in the same place. They even went to the same school. They look the same. So one woman is really struggling in dating. The other woman has an amazing dating life and is already married and has children and all of that, and is really happy in her relationship. So just like Tony, who got obsessed about human psychology and what creates change, quite a few years ago now, I got obsessed about why women are having this problem now. The more successful they become, it seems like the quality of men is deteriorating. And this is what a lot of women struggle today. So they're unhappier. The more successful they become, the happier they are in relationships. So I got really curious about that. And I started researching and doing and working with women one-on-one. Obviously, I transformed this in my own life. And then I created the Claim program that has now helped over 600 women transform their dating reality and their reality with men. And it's all the same thing. It's the same thing that Tony's doing with people. It's basically all about beliefs and what's in your head and the programming that's in there. So before I tell you about, the reframing beliefs, and I'll share with you my 3 beliefs that got reframed for me, let's finish this. So creating a compelling future was number 4, and number 5 was identity is everywhere. We don't do what we can, we leave what we believe we are. And this is a really good segue into beliefs, right? Because again, you can take 2 people who actually even grew up in the same household, right? And were exposed to the same factors and They even look the same, went to the same school, live in the same town or city, and they have completely different results about their life. It's all in our head. What we believe we can do, we will do, right? If we think that we cannot, we cannot. It's a story that's in our head. It's the programming that we've been conditioned to believe. If all your life you've been told that you're worth nothing, that's what you're gonna experience, right? And obviously the human psyche is so complicated, so it's very hard to dig deep and understand. But that's the work that I'm doing with women. It's like unconsciously, what do you carry within your system, what do you believe to be true deep down inside? That the consequence of that is that you're attracting what you're attracting, because the world and the world of men and our dynamics with men are our mirrors. So Tony basically talks about, there's so many things that he talked about. I'm not going to have time to name all of them, but he basically says that everyone struggles with the same thing, right? We struggle with there's this fear that we're not good enough, and therefore that we won't be loved. And when I work with women, at the bottom of all their patterns, limiting beliefs and patterns with men, are these 3 core beliefs. I'm not good enough. I'm not worthy. I don't deserve love. That's all that it comes down to. So our job is to literally excavate what's at the bottom of our patterns and beliefs and bring it to the surface, and then know how to reframe it, which is what I do with my women, and which is what we did with Tony. Of course, he talks about this most famous thing, I think, that he came up with, which is the 6 human needs, that every human, no matter what culture or whatever, is driven by the 6 human needs, which are certainty, uncertainty, significance, love and connection, growth and contribution. And by learning about these 6 human needs, you really realize what's important to people and why they do what they do. And I'm so in resonance with this message because, and that's what I taught as well, because, when I did my work, I managed to get out of my story, and I managed to understand that people do the best they can with the resources available. Every single person is driven by something, even, the psychopath, even the rapist, even the worst of the people that we consider in the world. They're driven by something, and they're driven by a need. The need for significance, the need for uncertainty, the need for certainty or love and connection. And of course, I don't think those kind of people are driven by growth and contribution. But these last 2 human needs, which is growth and contribution, are really the key to living a fulfilling life. So anyways, I won't go into details, but the exercise was to identify what needs are you currently driven by. So mine was certainty. And how that manifests for me in a negative way, because this could be positive or negative. How it manifests certainty for me is that I eat. I'm an emotional eater, so I go for food when I need certainty. And obviously that's not serving me. And also significance, right? I'm driven by significance, like so many of us, especially you can see this in people who have a really cool sense of fashion, like they want to stand out from the crowd, they're wearing an expensive watch, they dress really colorfully. So those people who really want to stand out, they're driven by significance. And I was also, obviously I'm kind of, I guess you can call me a public person. I'm the face of my business. I'm always under the public eye. Anybody can comment on my Instagram and tell me, oh, you said something stupid or whatever. I was... luckily not so much, but I've got, because of my message, because it can be quite controversial, I got under attack a few times, and that really hurt, because one of my needs was significance. And so in this exercise, what we did, we reframed that need for it to be not certainty, for me not to be driven to feel certain and therefore like eat, or significant, therefore please see me, please give me the likes, please give me the comments, please tell me I'm amazing, but instead I reframed it, and for my primary needs to now be growth and contribution. And contribution is something that I really got connected to, as I said again at this event, and really inspired by Tony, how he is led by this desire and obsessiveness to serve people so that they can change and live their best life. And my mission is to really help women help them understand what's going on deep down inside in their belief system, and give them the tools to change that, so they can create an amazing, amazing relationship with a great guy. And therefore, together, we create an amazing world where men and women are happy, and we build this world together. And this is the world that I want to leave for my daughters, obviously. So, I really got connected to that. And I know now that I'm doing a disservice. So if I don't record a video, if I don't do my coaching calls, if I don't do my marketing and sales calls, I'm doing a disservice to you, the woman. Because I know that how important this process is. I know that it can change lives. I've seen it in myself. I've seen it in my clients. And now I'm so, so committed to doing it. And that gives me the fuel, to like wake up in the morning, do my things before the event. Oh my God, I was procrastinating a lot. I was telling myself this story. So I'm going to tell you what my 3 limiting beliefs were discovered on the event. And obviously, these are my personal ones. And they were mostly related to business. My first belief was that business is really hard. I was really struggling. And currently we're going through like a winter. The world is going through winter, but my business is going through winter. So I felt like we're stuck. We're stuck for the last, year and a half or 2 years, and I couldn't see why. When you're deep inside your own story and your own problem, you're like, why is this happening? Why is this happening? Why we're not making more sales? Why we're right? So that was my belief number 1. Belief number 2 is that I can't do it all. I constantly had this story in my mind that as a woman, interestingly, that I found this about me, although I am teaching women how to be, well, not how to be, I'm basically, I'm not empowering women or not teaching them how to be empowered. I'm basically reminding them of their own power that's deep down inside. So, but I had this belief that, I can't do it all. I kept telling myself this story, talking to my sister about it, my girlfriends, like all of that. How, as a woman, doing a business is really hard. I've got 2 young children. I got no time. I got no time to exercise every day. I got no time to write. Like it's been such a story. And I've just been so inundated in it. You know what I mean? So like dragged down. And the third thing is like, my belief, and this is very vulnerable for me to share, is that big money is not for me. Although I have achieved amazing success with my business and where I'm at, oh my God. Like I now look at my children, like yesterday, holy shit, I look at, so Zoe's 5 now, and she's got like 10 Barbies. And I'm like, whoa, this is amazing. When I was growing, I'm like, am I spoiling my child? Because when I was growing up, I think I had like 1 Barbie. Right. And when I was growing up, we were buying like bananas, and we weren't poor, but by the American standards or by the Western standards, we were poor. Like I couldn't buy myself a pair of shoes when I wanted to. I had to wear them until they were basically broken. And if they broke or whatever, you literally go, those of you who are older are probably going to remember that, even if you live in the West. We had to go to like a shoe repair guy who would like fix my shoes so I can wear them again. So you wear your 1 pair of shoes until it basically is freaking destroyed. Or I remember I was wearing tights and there were holes on my tights, and I had to sew my holes so I can wear them again. So this is the environment that I grew up in. We didn't just buy shit because we wanted to, or like you go to the grocery store, what should I choose? Like this consumerism, like I don't know what that is. I know it now. Maybe that's why I also have a pattern of sometimes excessive shopping, although it's getting better and better. So, oh my God, where was I? Yes. So big money is not for me, right? So considering to where I came from, I already, like my journey, I've been telling this to all of my girlfriends, and probably a lot of you know it. I have transformed and shifted my life, all of my areas of life, to like an incredible extent, right? I grew up in a violent home. I was emotionally, mentally, physically abused. My mother died when I was 8. Like the stepmother was like, oh my God, a psychopath. Like it was crazy, right? And I managed to shift and transform and attract a beautiful, amazing, committed masculine man in my life, and created this like amazing family. Oh my God, I can't, I have to pinch myself every morning when my children come in, jump into bed, and this is my moment of being grateful. The most important thing that matters to me, right? Financially speaking, based on where I came from, we last year with my business, we made $1 million in revenue, and like, holy shit, like what? And I'm not even, I'm 34 years old. So, and it happened, in my fitness, in my self-image, in my beauty, right? Like for God's sake, I'm wearing red lipstick. Like I started taking care of my style, and I've had 2 children, and so many people look at me and they're like, "What? You've got 2 children?" I'm like, "Yeah, of course it's genes." But at the same time, I exercise regularly. I go to yoga, stuff like that. So this belief of big, but I'm stuck. I've stuck for the last 2 years at the same. And if you're an entrepreneur, you have a business, you will understand. I've stuck at the same level of revenue, and it's like I've hit my glass ceiling and I can't break through. And I realized that. So obviously, all of these beliefs are related, right? So business is really hard. I can't do it all. I don't have time for everything. And then the third one, big money is not for me. And so when I reframe them, and holy shit, okay, if you've been to a Tony Robbins event, Unleash Your Power Within, the Dickens process, I don't know. I have questions about it as a coach in terms of how does this work, and I want to learn how it works. And like this process was super fucking intense. Something that I don't. Yeah. Anyways, I won't go there. It was fucking intense. And so it's called Reframe. The basic idea is that actually the process is actually quite the same as I'm doing with women, which is basically identify. So I have a 4-step process. I'm going to tell you right now, I've got a 4-step process of reframing limiting beliefs. Number 1, find out what's at the bottom of your pattern or your situation. You already know mine, I told you, right? Although I think there's a step deeper where you go to the core, because none of them was about not enoughness, not worthiness. I feel like I've worked through a lot of these, but I'm not sure yet. So step 1, identify your core limiting beliefs. I've identified mine. Step 2 is to actually feel into your beliefs. And that's what we did during this event. Imagine a room of 6,000 people making sound. I'm not going to talk about it. It's really fucking intense. That's what I do with my women as well. I give them exercises and practices for them to realize, well, what's at the bottom of this mess that's been going on in your life, in your relationship dynamics, and in these patterns that's been there for years, decades, even lifetimes, generationally speaking, right? What's at the bottom of that? So excavate that. And then I have embodiment exercises where you actually got to feel it. And when I was doing this process with Tony, I was like, holy shit, I'm doing the same exact thing with my women, where I give you the tools, embodiment tools, where you bring that into the body. Because again, emotion, right? You got to feel that. Most people, they are not able to feel. And that's release. All of that frozen, all of those emotions that are so uncomfortable to feel, what do? We don't feel them. We don't know how to deal with it. We're like, this is too much. I'm not going to feel this. And I'm going to go and dissociate. I'm going to go and drink cigarettes, have sex, get high, eat, right? Instead of actually just sitting with the feelings and feeling them, not disregarding 50% of the emotional spectrum. So that's what I do with my women. That's step 2. And it was really fucking intense. And that's why I teach my women as well. And then step number 3, well, then you reframe. You reframe into new positive beliefs. So for me, instead of business is hard, my reframe belief was business is fun. And so imagine, I was like, oh shit, what if I actually really believe that? What if business was fun? What if me recording a video with you here, which is for my business, was actually fun? What if I could be like, editor, play some music. I don't even know if it's going to be an editor, right? What if I could be like, oh yeah, baby, let's go. What if I could be like doing this and being fucking silly or whatever? What if it could just be me? What if what if I jumped on every sales call, every coaching meeting, just fucking having fun, like business is fun. And then you celebrate and then you're like, oh my God, this is what we created. You know what I mean? So it's like, that's what I invite you to think about. Once you identify your core limiting belief and then you feel that, obviously, what's the reframe? Who would you be without this bullshit? And by the way, he did like really cool exercises. I don't know, there's also some really interesting NLP stuff where you would say your limiting belief with like fingers in your nose and shit. Okay, look, if you're listening to me and you're like, this is really fucking weird, I shouldn't do it, then you must do it. I could tell you. I'm not going to tell you a lot because You might get freaked out or whatever, but they prepare you for this, okay? Like, don't worry. It's not just going to like come in and like, ugh, feel all of your shit, right? Like they're priming you for it. So just go for it, my point, right? So what if you had limiting belief about, I don't trust men are toxic, they're not available, I'm not good enough, blah, blah, blah. Whatever that story programming is that driving you, what if you didn't have that? So first step is to identify it. Second step is to actually let yourself feel. The third step is like, what's the reframe of that? And how would your life look like if you acted, thought, and showed up every day of your life from that place? For me, what if business was fun? What if my belief was that I have all the time in the world to do whatever I want? Exercise every day. Like, how would that be like? How would I show up? How would I behave? What would I think? How would I be different? What needs to change for this to happen, right? And my third reframe belief was, I am good enough for all the abundance and all the money in the world. So imagine me having these three beliefs, and that's what I'm seeing the effect of this, right? And then you also feel the truth, not the bullshit, not the story, but the truth, the new beliefs that are true, that are actually here for you. And you feel that in your body as well, and you celebrate and you jump. That's what we did a lot. We did like a lot of affirmations. Actually, I want to read that to you because this was really, really powerful when we did the reframes. Here's what, and I think we read this and jumped in, I don't know what, like 10 times. We said, now I'm the voice. I will lead, not follow. I will believe, not doubt. I will create, not destroy. I am a force for good. I am a leader. Defy the odds. Set a new standard. Step up. And I still remember, like, we were just standing there, like 6,000 people. There's like music and shit, and you're like, defy the odds, set a new standard, step up, make your move, say yes. And it was just so empowering and incredible to feel all of that energy of people and to fucking finally believe and see. Like, that's why you get a coach. That's why you go to something like this where somebody can like fucking slap you on the face and say, wake the fuck up, right? Like, your life right now sucks in whatever area, right? Like, let's say your dating life sucks, because I know you're listening to this. So your dating life sucks because of the story, because of the programming, and your mind is designed to keep you safe. So when are you going to be ready to step up? When are you going to be ready to set a new standard, defy the odds, and really transform your life? And this is not, if you've been doing personal growth for a while and stuff like that, and a lot of people say, oh, positive thinking. I mean, sure, this could be categorized as positive thinking, but even Tony says it's not positive thinking because it's literally how you bring into your body. This is not just like tell yourself affirmations. This is bringing the body in. This is deep work on beliefs and all of that. So I'm going to finish this with 3 beliefs for lasting success. Okay, this was, to me, was a revelation. And I'll tell you why. So the first belief, I must change now. If you want for something to change, and if you want to do something, Tony has this formula that, you need to model someone who's already successful, number one. So find someone who's the best in the world at what they do, or who has what you want and does it very successfully. So like if you want a lasting, loving relationship, work with someone who's married, has children, has what you want. Work with someone like me, right? And then 2, a total immersion. So a total immersion in the learning process. So this can be an event. This can also be like an intensive coaching program. For example, my program, I don't know if I would qualify it as a total immersion, but I think so, right? Because when women join my program, they have a program component where they consume videos, they do worksheets, but they also start to do their feminine embodiment flow every single day for 5 minutes. Then twice a week they join these coaching calls that are really intense, that are for like 2-3 hours. And then there's a community, right? So if you wanted to, you can be totally immersed in it every day. And you're constantly surrounded in yourself, and it's the people who you're surrounding with who hold the new standard, who believe, like my community of women, we all believe that men are great. We all trust in the masculine, or at least we're getting there. A lot of women who are new obviously don't try that, but with all these practices, I hold a deep belief in my system that men are amazing. Honestly, that the masculine has my back. I see these men everywhere, It starts with my husband, and then it goes into my family, the men in my family, extended family, the guy at the grocery store, the taxi driver, the neighbors, the men on the, like I see them. I understand the male journey. So total immersion, right? And then spaced repetition. You got to repeat and you got to take massive action towards the direction that you want to take. So the 3 beliefs for lasting success are: it must change now. I must change. So the situation, so decide. This is what my last words do, right? Decide that whatever you're struggling with must change now. The second thing is that you must believe that I must change now. So not only this thing has to change now, but also who's the common denominator, let's say, in all of the dating dynamics that are not working? You. So I must change now. And then the third thing is that I can change now. Because if you don't believe that you can, you won't. And I had this realization when Tony was talking about it, because I do have a few clients who do the work and they're going through the process, and then they're stuck, and then they're stuck, and then they're stuck. And I realized that they're stuck because they're stuck in their own damn story, that they believe that their past is dictating everything, and they just don't believe that they can change, right? So for lasting change, you must believe that you can change. Because if you don't believe that you can change, then you won't. And it doesn't matter how many coaches you work with, programs, whatever. If you don't believe that you can change, that you won't. So I'm going to conclude my video here and tell you that I am very inspired and obviously moved by Tony Robbins' event, by him as a human, but what he's managed to achieve and accomplish as a business guy. He's got over like 100 companies making $1 billion a year. He gives so much. And my plan after doing all of his events is to become a platinum member, where obviously, you're with Tony at his like private events and adventures and stuff like that. So would I recommend going to unleash the power within? Fuck yes. And I would be actually telling all of my clients to go. I think my clients are a bit sick of me talking about Tony Robbins. They're like, why the fuck? Like yeah. But when I find something, I told String, I recorded him a voice message and I said, when I find a mentor that resonates, this is it. I'm going full force. So who is that mentor for you? It might be me, or it might be somebody else. It doesn't matter. But my message to you is stop telling yourself the story and procrastinating. I see so many women getting stuck in their story. Your dating life can be so amazing. You're not broken, and the past does not equal the future. And I've seen so many women go through this transformation. Like, I just read today a post from this woman, Elizabeth. Elizabeth is like, I just joined and I've been a week in the program and I'm starting to notice the polarity and I'm starting to notice all these amazing men around me. Have they always been around, or have they always been around, or is it me who's changing, right? Or are they changing or whatever? And I'm like, they've always been around, okay? So know that you choose what lens you put on, and you choose whether you're a passive participant in your own programming and letting your mind control you, make you feel safe. I'm not good enough. I better not go to that date. I better not swipe right. I better not, put on red lipstick because, oh my God, maybe somebody will. Like, do you want to do that, or do you want to live that way? Or are you ready to step up and go to the next level? If you are, well, obviously I'm going to invite you to freaking apply for your discovery call with us, with Claimed, because we have a solution for you. And again, I'm telling you this. Am I selling? Fuck yes, I'm selling, because I know that I can help. And I've seen this happen time and time and again. And I've seen that women are in their own way. So many women you could have been already so happy, like freaking 10 years ago, 15 years ago, if you knew how to do this, if you knew the work. And it's okay that you don't, but your time is now. You must believe that it must change now, that you must change now, and that you can change now. If that's your belief, I invite you to go to claim.com/apply, fill in a short application. If you're qualified, you'll be directed to a calendar, a discovery call calendar, where you're going to book a session it's going to be with either me. My spots are very limited, and I'm probably not going to be doing this for a long time, but it's going to be with one of my team members or me, where you're going to talk about a plan, okay? And if it's the right fit for you, say yes. Invest in yourself. Put yourself into the next level of relationship dynamics, because you can't do this alone. I mean, you could, but it took me like 8 years, right? So stop procrastinating, telling yourself the same fucking story, that you're not good enough, or that you've been abused in the past, or that men have betrayed you. Like, all of that, you could either continue and choose to like marinate and swim in that story, or you can get out. Because if you're a fish in the water, you don't understand that you're in water. So get the fuck out, because life is too short. And actually the decision of your partner is the most important decision of your life. I kid you not. I was at this event, and every time they were asking us to think of a moment of something great, it was always my family. It was always my children and my man. Whether you want to have children, whether you can or not, doesn't matter. But it's the person who's next to you who's going to go through with you through life. It's one of those things that, money, you can have a lot of money. I mean, the first thing is obviously health. If you don't have health, then you're totally fucked. You can't enjoy your relationship, you can't enjoy your money, like you're dead. Like you're not useful if you're dead. But after you're healthy, right? Or at least like functioning properly or whatever, it's the relationships in your life. There's no point making all this cash or whatever your success is if you don't have anyone else to share it with. And family is the most important thing, whether it's you and somebody else or whether it's you and many others, right? So make a choice now, make a move, say yes, make a move, say yes. And apply for a discovery call. If somebody else resonates, like do something, create massive momentum and massive action. Get out of your story, invest in yourself, and have amazing success. And I wish you all the best, because I deeply feel for you, and you don't need to be in that story. You can get out, and I've seen it time and time again. So I want to say God bless. Why? I don't know. I'm not religious, but anyways, whatever. All right. Bye.